I just wanted to take one second, Colette, to go off program and just say thank you, Colette, for helping us manage and come together in a rainbow. So next up, we have a keynote speaker for our lunch program.
In front of me the whole time.
We have the privilege of having Darren Williams here from the NCBA to help us become better, more confident advocates for the beef industry. And I think this is a topic that we can all learn from, and hopefully take something home and make some progress in this area that I think is a very important area for us to have a future in what we are doing. Yeah. So, Darren Williams, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon. Keep meeting. I'll try to talk loud enough over the client conditions so you can keep your program on schedule here and get you back to the airport and fly back to Denver for tomorrow's beef promotion operating committee. Just a brief word about what that's all about. How many of you are familiar with the beef checkoff? Raise your hand, please. I hope I saw everything in the room go up, right? Because if you raise cattle, you're supposed to pay them. It's called a checkoff, right? Well, tomorrow's the day that NCBA and the other beef checkoff contractors go before the beef promotion operating committee. There's a group of 20 people who are on the Cattlemen's beef board to make a decision about which programs they're going to fund for the coming year. So that's your producer dollars, your dollars being invested in programs to build beef demand and protect your right to do business. It's pretty important work in my opinion. As you probably know, NCBA is a contractor to the beef checkoff. We are not the only contractor to the beef checkoff. We've got other outfits like the North American Meat Institute, the National Livestock Producers Association, Northeast Beef Promotion Initiative, Meat Importers Council of America, and others who are contractors to that checkoff. So, with that brief commercial announcement, I am brought to you here by the Beef Checkoff. I'm here on your behalf, and I hope you'll find it worth it. My goal today is to give you some thoughts on how you can be a more confident advocate for the product that you raise. You might want to think about it as being a salesman of the product that you raise, whether or not you sell directly to a consumer or not. You do have opportunities to interact with consumers and talk about what it is that you do on a daily basis to raise the world's best beef in the most sustainable way. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But that's important because consumers want to know where their food comes from today more than ever. I've spent 25 years in agricultural communications, and consumers have always had questions about how food is raised, but I've never seen a time in my history in this business and my career that consumers have a stronger demand, in particular today's millennial consumers, for information about the food that they put on that table. So becoming a more confident beef advocate, I think I'm going to start off with the number one action item I think I can give you to become a more confident beef advocate. And that is to go through the Masters of Beef Advocacy program. How many of you are familiar with that program? Raise your hand. How many of you graduated with that program? Raise your hand up. All right. Thank you for those who have graduated from the program. We launched the MBA program in March of 2009. I joined NCBA in 2006. I came from a public relations firm in Kansas City where I had worked in the beef industry, some on some typical issues, including E. coli related recalls in the mid-1990s, early 2000s, as well as the cow that stole Christmas in 2003. On behalf of clients in the meat processing industry, primarily including companies like Omaha Steaks, Ottoman Sons Incorporated, the world's largest supplier to McDonald's and others. But when I had the opportunity to join NCBA, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, full-time, one of the things that I started working on was creating a grassroots advocacy network. I started in politics in, no booze, thank you. I started politics in 1986 working on Senator Bob Dole's campaign. How many of you remember Senator Bob Dole from Kansas? Good. The senator will be gratified to know this, and people still remember who he is. I speak to a lot of college groups these days and get a lot of blank stares when I mention Senator Bill. A little bit of a humbling experience. You think about that. You know, Senator Bill just turned 92 a couple weeks ago. He's alive and well. His mind is as sharp as ever. And you know, when I had the opportunity to work on his campaign in 1986, growing up in Kansas, that was sort of a dream of mine to follow Senator Dole out to Washington, D.C., and hopefully to the White House. That was the second of 3 presidential campaigns for Senator Dole, second of 3 failed presidential campaigns for Senator Dole. In '96, of course, he went on to get the Republican nomination and run against Bill Clinton. But 1988 was the campaign where we had, very similar to this year, a very packed Republican primary. You may remember folks like Pat Robertson and Al Haig, even. You know, the guy who's in charge now after Reagan was shot, even though he wasn't. And Pete DuPont and Jack Kemp and of course George Bush Sr. On that campaign. But the reason I bring that up is because I learned the importance of having a grassroots network. You know, I spent 6 weeks in New Hampshire before the primary there in January of 1988. January in New Hampshire is a lovely time to visit that state. You just drive right on the lakes, you know, you don't have to worry about having a boat. And I trampled around that state, and there were 3 snowfalls, I'm not telling more than the football I was there, but I trampled around that state doing get out the vote programs. And if you understand politics and get out the vote, you have to have a grassroots network to engage people and get voters to the polls. Of course, these days with things like Twitter and Facebook, social media tools, you don't really have to work as hard going door to door as we used to. We actually used to make phone calls to people's houses. We didn't have robots that did that for us. And so I tried to bring that concept to the beef industry and say we need a grassroots advocacy network nationwide. We need producers in every county, every precinct, every state, certainly, who are equipped to go out and talk about what they do with consumers and answer consumer questions. We had a very lofty goal in the first year in 2009 to have 50 graduates of the program. We ended up actually having 50 graduates at the very first MBA commencement training that I did at Kansas State University. One thing I didn't anticipate is a lot of support from universities, ag science, animal science programs, and folks like Dr. Gordon Jones, who's in the audience here today, who were big supporters of the program in the early days, really helped get it kicked off and to a successful start. We had more than 1,000 graduates in the first year. We've had more than 1,000 graduates every year since, and so I hope that the number one takeaway you'll have from today is to join those folks, go through the Masters of Beef Advocacy program, and become a part of what we call the MBA Alumni Association. We just launched MBA 2.0 in January of this year, so we have a brand new set of courses with the latest and greatest information about beef and about how to talk to consumers about beef that we just launched. And so you can go through those courses. You don't have to have gone through this first step, you can just go through these courses. Here are the MBA 2.0 lessons. The first one is called the Beef Community. It's all about the people, you, who raise beef, from pasture to plate. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But then it goes through the beef life cycle. It goes through the various stages of how beef gets from pasture to plate. Raising cattle on grass, life in the feed yards, from cattle to beef. You might guess that covers the slaughter side of our industry. And then finally, beef is what's for dinner, which is a course that really is designed to help you talk to consumers about how to choose the right cut of beef and cook it, prepare it for their family so that they have a great beef eating experience every time. That's a big challenge today with today's millennial consumer, just not growing up in households like I did, with my mom making a roast every Sunday, and shish kebabs on Monday, and meatloaf on Tuesday, and hamburger casserole with tater tots on Wednesday. I grew up in a Baptist house, you might be getting a picture. I come from a western Kansas wheat farming family. I actually didn't grow up in wheat. My great-great-great-great-grandfather homesteaded in western Kansas in 1886, and my cousin still farms the family land out there. And I was born out in that area, but we moved away from the farm when I was 3 years old. So I'm one of those first-generation removed consumers that we hear a lot about. But I had the opportunity to go back and work the wheat harvest, drive the wheat truck, over the toughest weeks of my life working out on wheat harvest. And my daughters haven't had that opportunity. My daughters have been back to the farm. They've had an opportunity to climb up on a tractor and drive around with grandpa, but they haven't had a chance to really get their boots dirty or their hands dirty and work in that area. And who knows about my grandkids? I don't have any yet. Who knows if I'll have grandkids? But who knows whether or not my grandkids will have that opportunity. But getting out to the farm in Plains, Kansas is not the easiest thing in the world. It's about 6 hours from the major airport. You got to make a conscious attempt to go there. So I didn't grow up in this industry, but I've had the opportunity to work in this industry for a long time. And my goal is to connect you with consumers, to connect you, the people who produce food, with the people who eat food. You know, when I do this presentation, I used to say that 2% of the population feeds 98% of the population. And I had a guy come up to me after one of these presentations, he said, your math's not so good. I thought, you know, I was great in English, but I thought 2 and 98 equal 100, right? And he said, well, we eat too, don't we? We are consumers too, right? So 2% of the population feeds 100% of the population. But we don't all have the opportunity. Not everybody today has the opportunity to participate at the ground level in food production. Very few people do. So we've got to get out and talk to those folks about what we do. You know, we fear what we don't know, folks, right? There's a reason we fear walking down the street in Baltimore like I did last night. I had the opportunity to go to see my Kansas City Royals play, Blues, for the Baltimore Orioles. But, you know, walking down the street, you know, we fear what we don't know. It's a strange city, it's dark, I didn't know exactly which road I was turning down. You know, in the middle of the daytime, you wouldn't fear the same thing. We fear what we don't know. People fear food today because they don't know where food comes from. We need to remind them that food comes from people, particularly in the beef industry today. You know, family farms, people still make up this industry. We hear a lot about factory farming and industrial agriculture, but you don't get beef from factory to plate without the hands of a lot of people, hardworking people involved, people I call the beef community. Now, you know, we say we don't like to be called factory farmers in industrial agriculture, and we refer to ourselves as the beef industry on a regular basis, right? I would say this is a beef industry meeting. We started coming up with this concept of the beef community a few years ago after doing some research with consumers and finding out that consumers really do equate beef with factory farming, that beef comes from factory farms. And we said we've got to do a better job of talking about the people who are involved. And so we did some testing, and the concept of the beef community worked well with consumers. You think about what a community is. Think about your community here in Pennsylvania, or wherever you come from around the country. And what is a community? It's people coming together, communing together, coming together for a common goal, right? There were 7 families in Plains, Kansas, when my great-great-great-grandfather homesteaded there. That was a community of people that relied on each other. Back in that day, probably for survival, probably relied much less on each other for survival these days. But we don't we rely on each other in the beef community to get our product from pasture to plate? How many of you raise beef on your farm, all the way up to finishing weight, slaughter it on your farm, and then sell it directly to a consumer? Anybody here? Right? So if you don't process it, slaughter it on your farm, then you're at least responsible or co-dependent on one other member of the beef community, somebody to process that animal. You may even sell it directly to the consumer and control many aspects, but we have to work together. And when we work together as a community, we raise the world's best beef in the most sustainable way. Now when I say the world's best beef, that might be a matter of my opinion, you could say. That is my opinion. I hope it's the opinion of everybody in this room that we raise the world's best beef. It certainly is the opinion of consumers around the world who love the product that you produce. Japanese consumers, South Korean consumers, even Australian and South American consumers love American beef. And so when I say the world's best product, you could say that's maybe subjective, but the world's best beef. But when I say we raise it in the most sustainable way, that's scientific fact that we can prove. Nobody else in the world produces more pounds of beef with fewer resources than we do in the United States by following a system that I'm going to talk about here in a minute, that are working together. Because when we work together, we allow each one of you to do what you do best with the resources that you have. Think about it, your farm, we have about 620,000 beef cattle operations in the United States, according to USDA figures, down close to 100,000 from the report before that. That's a little scary, right? Only about 620,000 beef cattle operations left, but I would say we have 620,000 different business models in the beef industry, because every one of you does it a little bit differently. But because of the system that we've built that allows for that flexibility, it allows you to do what you do best, given the land that you have, the resources you have, given the market that you have in your area. You know, you might be able to produce 100% organic grass-fed beef product and sell it here at a farmer's market, find a consumer who really is willing to pay extra for that. If you try to do that in Darren, Kansas, where my wife is from, you're probably going to produce a product that nobody's going to buy. Nobody's going to pay for it. Hispanic being the number one percentage of that population in Garden City, Kansas. That's not what they're looking for. That's not what the Hispanic consumer is looking for. The Hispanic consumer wants to put a high quality protein on their plate for an affordable cost for a large family. So we got to appeal to a lot of different consumers. We got to have a lot of different business models if we're going to appeal to every different consumer, right? We don't just do it one way. So meet some members of the beef community. These are all masters of beef advocacy graduates. Family down in the lower right-hand corner. A gal named Debbie Lyons Blythe and her family from White City, Kansas. They raise cattle in the Flint Hills of Kansas, which is an area I'm very familiar with. It's a beautiful, rolling, native tall grass prairie. One of the last, natural tall grass prairies left, and one of the largest. If you ever had a chance to get out there, particularly when it's green, it's just beautiful. But it's only green a few months out of the year, right? The grass only grows there a few months out of the year. It doesn't grow year round. So a consumer wants to know, why don't we just raise cattle on grass year round out on pasture the way it was always done, right? I'm not sure when it was ever done that way. Maybe in the 1600s, 1700s here in Pennsylvania, it was primarily done that way. But we've been supplementing livestock with corn and with grain for as long as I can find in the history books of the history of America. She and her family do a great job. They're cow calf operators, seed stock operators out there. They're utilizing the resource that they have. That resource is not good for growing crops. If you try to turn the Flint Hills into corn production region, you're going to create an environmental disaster. It's a thin layer of topsoil, so it's on that's very rocky. First of all, your yields are going to be terrible, but you would be creating an environmental problem. So when we allow her to do what she does best with her family, and then work together with somebody like Ann Burkholder up there in the upper left-hand corner, who runs a feed yard in Cozad, Nebraska, who has a very different resource, flat land, good topsoil, a little more rainfall every year, more access to water out of the Ogallala aquifer. They can produce corn in abundance. They can produce other crops like alfalfa in abundance or feed cattle. Working together, utilizing the resources they have, we produce the world's best beef in the most sustainable way. I'm going to say that a few times today because I want that to sink in, because that's what we've got to talk about, how we produce the world's best beef in the most sustainable way. The beef community is also people like Susie Strasburger up there in the upper right-hand corner, standing there, and her family's fifth generation German meat business in New York City. What they do is they buy primals and subprimals prime, they dry age them, cut them into steaks and serve them and deliver them every day to white table restaurants in New York City. And I stood there in the dry aging room at I don't know how many thousands of dollars worth of meat, prime beef being dry aged, and my mouth was watering thinking about that juicy steak I could get at the steakhouse that night. And I did go have a steak that night. But she's an important member of our community, because without folks like her who showcase your product, and in this case in the best way possible, we don't have a consumer that wants to buy your product, and we don't have a business, we don't have an industry. That's just a little bit. I'm not going to go through who all those folks are, but here's the point of this. This group of people in the middle don't raise beef. That's just a typical consumer, a family of consumers. They're an important part of our community too. Without the consumer that ultimately buys the product you produce, we don't have a beef community. We don't have an industry that's sustainable. So we're trying to keep our eye on the consumer. We're trying to listen more to the consumer every day, and not necessarily, the consumer might tell us something like they prefer that animals be raised without antibiotics. That doesn't mean we're just going to go out and say, okay, we're going to stop using antibiotics. We need antibiotics to keep animals healthy. We just need to talk to consumers about how and why we use antibiotics so they feel more comfortable with that process and more comfortable with what we're doing to produce the beef that they love. This is the good news. When we ask Americans how they feel about the people who grow and raise food, the farmers and ranchers who grow and raise their food, they have a very favorable opinion of it. 75% of consumers say that they have a very or favorable opinion of farmers and ranchers, the people who produce their food. Those are good numbers. If you're running for president of the United States, you got a 75% favorability rating, you're going to win. Now, we haven't had anybody with numbers like that. I mean, maybe Ronald Reagan, at some point toward the end of his first term or something, might have had those kinds of favorability numbers. So that's good. People like you. So you can feel good about that. Here's the problem, folks. When we change the question around, when we say not how do you feel about the people, but how do you feel about the way that food is grown and raised, look what happens to that number. It drops from 75 to 42%. Now, if you're running for president, you're in trouble. Look at President Obama's favorability ratings right now. Anybody seen them lately? Last time I checked, low 40s. If he was running for president today, he'd be in trouble. I don't know who among the Republican field is going to come out with higher favorability ratings than that, but to put up against whoever the Democrats nominate. But this is a problem. Whether you're running for president or you're trying to produce a food product that you want consumers to buy, this is a problem. What we need to do is leverage the favorable rating, the favorable opinion that consumers have of you to leverage you to talk about what you do, because they will believe you when you say, this is how I use antibiotics every day. They will believe people like Dr. Mike Baker when he says, this is how and why we use antibiotics, this is how and why we use growth hormones. We rely on third-party experts like Dr. Baker a lot to get out to our story. But they also want to hear from the people who have the boots on the ground in their hand, who knows where, on a regular basis, to talk about what it is that you do and why. Because consumers have a lot of questions about how beef is raised. They have a lot of questions about beef in general. They want to know if it comes from factory farms. They've seen the Chipotle ads that show cows in these sort of factory pigs in these sort of factory type conditions, and they have a tendency to believe that, even though it's a cartoon. We just need to show them what real life is. They want to know if beef is safe. They want to know if livestock is treated properly. 95% of American consumers say they support raising animals to produce food. So while it feels like every consumer in America has become vegetarian, I'm here to tell you that's not the case. 95% of people, American consumers, say they support raising animals to produce food if, this is a big if they can be assured that every animal is treated properly. So we need you to get out there and talk about what you do to treat animals properly. Because every time they see a video put out by Mercy for Animals showing somebody within our community, whether it's a worker that we hired on a dairy who's running around jabbing cows in the udder with a pitchfork or whatever it is, that reflects poorly on us, right? It undoes all the good work that you do on a daily basis. We've got to do a better job getting out and tell those stories. They want to know if cows are causing global warming. I hadn't even heard this in 2006 when I joined the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. I remember that conversation with my wife talking about leaving the public relations firm where I had a nice job and taking a new job and moving to a new city, uprooting our family. And she said, are you sure you really want to go to work for one organization, one industry? Because what I did at a PR firm is I worked for a lot of different clients. I handled crisis situation issues in companies ranging from meat industry companies to Hallmark cards. If you guess Hallmark cards, you can have crisis situations. All of those little bags are made, those gift bags are made down in Maquiladoras in Mexico. You want to know, I can go into all the issues that Hallmark cards have. But when I had that conversation with her, she said, are you sure you want to go to work for one industry, one association? I said, honey, don't worry, it's the beef industry. We have no lack of issues in the beef industry. And I didn't know that cows were causing global warming. Because that very year is the year that the United Nations came out with a study saying, called Livestock's Long Shadow, saying that livestock production globally was creating more greenhouse gases than all of transportation combined. Now, first of all, that statement is not right. It's not factually correct. We pointed that out. We had Dr. Frank Mitlerner, who's a world-renowned air quality specialist from UC Davis, to a study with your beef checkout dollars that actually prompted the lead researcher there to recant that statement and say that's not true. Unfortunately, the media had already picked it up, had already reported it. We still see it reported today. They want to know if eating red meat is going to increase the risk of heart disease or cancer. And how many of you have been impacted by cancer before? Somebody you know? And almost every one of us, right? You know somebody who has cancer, or maybe we've got cancer survivors here in the room. My mom's a breast cancer survivor. You know, it's something that's very emotional for people. It's a hot topic, and we've got a study coming out in October from a group called the International Agency for Research on Cancer that is going to say that eating red meat may increase your risk of cancer, of getting certain types of cancer. A couple things you need to know about that right now, in case when that study comes out you get questions. They are not saying red meat causes cancer. They're saying may, maybe, might, possibly be a carcinogen. A carcinogen doesn't necessarily mean that it causes cancer, even if red meat is a carcinogen. And I'm not convinced that everything is a carcinogen at some level. Even if eating red meat is a carcinogen, it does not mean that eating red meat is going to cause cancer in you. And that's just a critical thing that I'm afraid is going to get lost in the world. So let's talk about a couple of those big issues. First of all, does beef come from factory farms? No, beef comes from family farms and ranches, just like that. And whether you work for a corporation, and then raise cattle on the side, or whether your family farm is incorporated, like my mom's brothers and together have incorporated a wheat farm out in western Kansas, it's still a family-owned and operated business. So we need to remind them that you're still out there. When they have questions about beef safety, we need to remind them that we are consumers too, and that we care about the safety of our food too. I came out here to Pennsylvania in summer of 2000, left my family on vacation because I got a call from a guy down in Ella Roush at a company called Moyer Packing Company in Souderton, Pennsylvania. How many of you know Moyer? Remember Moyer? That part of JBS now, is that right? Moyer Packing Facility. Well, at the time, it was still owned by the Moyer family. I had the opportunity to meet Kurt Moyer and many of the family members there as we were working on an issue where they had E. coli found in their product. 125-year family-owned, third-generation family-owned, Mennonite family-owned company. For the first time in their company's history, they were having a recalled product because they had E. coli in their product. At the very same time this was going on, we had a 4-year-old girl lying on her deathbed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because she had gotten sick after eating at a Sizzler restaurant. We went through that first weekend not knowing whether or not Moyer's product was responsible for that girl's illness, and eventually she died. And my daughter was 4 years old at the time. I got to tell you, it hit home for me. And it hit home for the Moyer family. But that's how important this is. You're producing a food product. We don't want that food product to make anybody sick. We certainly don't want anybody to die after eating the product that you raised. So we have invested heavily since that time, since the mid-1990s through the 2000s, in making beef safer, because it's absolutely unacceptable to any one of us in this room to have somebody say to die after eating our product, right? As it turns out, the Moyer product wasn't the product that ended up in that Milwaukee Sizzler, but I got to tell you, that was a rough weekend for the family, thinking that might be their product. Good people, by the way. I learned a lot in my career that I carried through my career from that family. And the thing I probably learned the most is do the right thing first. Do the right thing. As Mark Twain always said, if you always do right, it will gratify some and astonish the rest. Right? Do the right thing. And that family was committed to doing the right thing. They took extraordinary measures, including sending their own employees with their own trucks into giant food stores to go get their product out of the back room because they didn't want anybody to get sick after eating their product. So we've invested heavily. You have invested heavily in making beef safer. That's your checkoff dollars worth, folks, that make beef safer. You have saved lives. There's no doubt about it in my mind. You have saved lives through the investment of your checkoff dollars and beef safety research. If you ever question whether or not your checkoff is going to work for you, maybe, you know, I don't know if it's, we can point to studies saying that for every checkoff dollar invested, you get $11.90 return. You know what? If you save one life with your investment in beef safety research, to me it's worth it. And it's working. The CDC had goals set in the mid-1990s called the Healthy People 2010 goals to reduce a variety of different pathogens. The goal for E. coli was to reduce it to less than 1 case per 100,000 people. We met that goal in 2009, a year ahead of schedule. No other pathogen, Salmonella, Shigella, all the nasty bugs that make you sick, no other pathogen met the goal. The poultry industry didn't invest as heavily in getting Salmonella out of their product as we did. And look what's going on in the poultry industry now. You have huge recalls. The Foster Farms recall, one of the largest recalls in the district of food products. Take credit for that. That's your investment. Animal care, that's the other one I mentioned. They just want to know. People just want to know if animals are being treated properly. And I think we can assure them that we are working hard to treat animals properly every day. We have programs like the Beef Quality Assurance Program to ensure that cattlemen, everybody who handles cattle knows how to do it properly, whether it's an injection site or whether it's low stress handling. We've got a program in place. As you know, though, this is a voluntary program. This is not mandatory. We don't force anyone to go through this program. However, I would highly encourage all of you to do it. And I'll just give you a quick story that explains why this is important to me. I had a client when I worked at the PR firm in Kansas City, a little neighborhood grill and bar company you might be familiar with called Applebee's. And Applebee's got a letter from PETA one day. PETA said, we want you to demand the following things of your suppliers. So they wanted Applebee's to go to their meat suppliers and say, we want no poultry from you unless it's free range, no debeaking. In the hog industry, they wanted no tail dogging, they wanted no gestation crates. You know, there's this long list of demands. I think the only one that really hit beef was that they wanted no hot iron graining. But, you know, they had this long list of demands, and Applebee's calls me and says, what do we do about this? I'm talking to their senior vice president of purchasing. And I said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to call the beef guys and the pork guys and the egg layers and the chicken guys, and we're going to get their standards, and we're going to get your CEO to bless the standards that were set in place by the experts. The veterinarians, the animal scientists, the experts in how to handle cattle, and how to handle hogs, and how to handle chickens. And that's exactly what I did. I got everyone to send me by mail, and believe it or not, we actually mailed things back at that time, a big stack of documents, you know, the Beef Quality Assurance Program being in there. It's the first time I've heard of it. And I carried it into the CEO of Applebee's. He's one of these guys, you know, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. I had 15 minutes with him. I said, sir, this isn't going to take long. I said to him, I said, I have 2 questions for you. First question, do you ever foresee Applebee's becoming a vegetarian restaurant? He said, Darren, the answer is not no, it's hell no. I said, right answer. I said, okay, sir, who do you want to side with? The people who are going to produce the animal protein that you're going to serve at Applebee's restaurants, or the people who want you to become a vegetarian restaurant? He said, well, when you put it that way, it's a pretty easy decision. I'd like to support the people who are going to raise the protein. I said, well, here are their standards. Here are their standards. If you bless their standards and you tell people to show up, that you're going to listen to, you're going to have to expect your suppliers to follow the standards set by the experts, then you'll be supporting the people who are going to produce your protein. That's exactly what Applebee's did. And that's why BQA is important to me. You know, we also need you to get out and tell those stories, like this guy from Indiana who went out one morning, found a calf in a snowbank, and said, man, you know, I'm not sure that calf is going to make it, so he had to bring it back in his house and try to get warmed up. And on the way back to the house, he passed the hot tub, and the light bulb went off, and jumped in the hot tub with his calf. And, you know, you guys go to extraordinary measures to care for these animals. I'm not sure what cleaning the filter in the hot tub was like. Talk about environmental stewardship for a minute. Of course, you know, you care for the land, and that's what you do every day. You care for the land. But not everybody understands that. They might think that we cut corners and, you know, and do things that like using pesticides or utilizing water to produce beef that are not good for the environment. But fundamentally, you know that farmers are the original environmentalists. You are the people out there every day caring for the land. You do a lot more on your farms and ranches to care for the land than I do in my little suburban subdivision outside of Denver, Castle Rock, Colorado. All I do is throw all my recycling in one big bin. It goes out to the curb every 2 weeks and gets hauled off someplace outside out of mine. That's all I do. Maybe I try to keep the lights turned off and do good with energy conservation. But you're doing things every day to care for the land. We just need to get out and talk more about it. We've conducted, through the beef track-off, we've conducted a life cycle assessment on beef production that measures our sustainability, everything that goes into producing a pound of beef from an environmental standpoint, but also sustainability from a social and economic standpoint. Social sustainability is things like caring for animals, taking good care of your workers. Economic sustainability is if you can't stay in business, if you don't have a business model that allows you to stay in business economically, then you're not sustainable, right? The good news is when we measured your sustainability, we found that you are doing a good job. And we already knew this. We already knew you were doing a good job. We already knew we were continuously improving. We just had to document it. So we could walk into conversations with companies like Walmart and Costco and McDonald's and say, look, here's what these guys are doing, and here's what they're doing to get better. We identified a lot of opportunities to get better, and one of them is reducing food waste. I can't even imagine the amount of food waste that just was going to come out of this banquet here, this luncheon here today, let alone out of a school cafeteria or a university cafeteria on a daily basis. As much as 40% of the food that we raise in this country never gets eaten. It goes to waste. That's a huge double whammy. The good news for beef is that beef is the least wasted commodity we produce, according to the USDA Economic Research Service. And there's two good reasons for that, in my opinion. First of all, it just tastes too darn good to throw away. Second of all, it's too expensive. I mean, if you're going to buy a good steak, you're not going to throw it away, right? So that's the good news. But still, 20% of beef you produce gets wasted. We can do a better job in reducing those numbers. And then finally, and I see I'm running out of time, but finally I want to hit on a subject that I'm very passionate about, and that's beef nutrition. This is really the reason we started the Masters of Beef Advocacy program. I was going around doing training sessions for farmers and ranchers talking about how to talk to consumers about beef, and I started having a conversation about beef's nutritional profile. And about the only people I could find who could have an intelligent conversation about it were members of the American National Cattlemen Association, or the State Cattlemen Associations, because they had been stressing for a number of years things like ZIP, zinc, iron, protein. Beef gives you ZIP. How many of you have heard that before? Okay. But if you can add one letter to that, ZIP and B, ZIP plus B, you've got 5 of the 10 essential nutrients and vitamins that are found in beef that you can talk about with consumers. Zinc, iron, protein, and B vitamins. 5 of the 10 essential nutrients and vitamins that beef provides. Zinc that helps build immunity. If you're talking to a mom about why beef should be included in the school lunch program, talk to her about zinc. The fact that beef gives you 1/3 of the zinc you need every day. And, I had some great oysters down on the harbor last night, but the other primary source of zinc in the American diet is oysters, and I don't foresee them serving oysters in the school lunch program anytime soon. And so that's where they're going to get their zinc. That's where they're going to build their immunity, so they're not coming home with a cold every other week or the flu every other week and then passing it around the house. Iron that helps build healthy red blood cells to carry oxygen from your lungs to your vital organs and muscles. Is that important? Yeah, only if you want to live. If you're going to be physically active, you have to have healthy red blood cells. You have to be able to get that oxygen from your lungs to your vital organs, to your muscles. Kids need iron in their diet. One of the biggest health concerns that we have, we're talking to a doctor, a guy named, lost his name, Keith Ayub with the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in Bronx, New York. Isn't that an impressive title, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine? And he said the number one issue he sees with inner city kids is iron deficiency, not getting enough high quality protein in their diet. Protein builds muscles. B vitamins give you energy. Anybody feeling like right now after lunch you could use a little more energy? Yeah. Wait till you get to the room next door and start listening to the next presentation. sorry, I don't know who's up first. I hate being a speaker right after lunch. I love being a lunch speaker because everybody shows up for lunch, right? So, thanks for showing up. But if you're feeling that this afternoon, you think, man, I could use a little more energy, think, I should have chosen roast beef instead of the turkey for lunch. You can find this information on beefitswhatsfordinner.org, beefnutrition.org, any of our websites, frankly, but it's the 10 essential nutrients and vitamins that are found in beef. So remember ZIP plus B, but also remember 10, 10, 10. Beef provides more than 10% of 10 essential nutrients and vitamins that you need in your diet every day for less than 10% of your daily calories. That's good bang for your calorie buck. More than 10% of essential nutrients like zinc and iron and B vitamins for less than 10% of your daily calories. How do you think that compares to the nutritional profile of a Twinkie? Which provides 0% of zero nutrients for more than 10% of your daily calories. Or a can of soda. We produce so many foods that provide no nutritional value in our diet, and yet and everybody's turning around pointing the finger at beef as far as sustainability goes and said beef isn't sustainable. Well, guess what? We actually need beef in our diet. We don't need those other foods in our diet. And Twinkies have an environmental footprint. They're made in factories. They're packaged in little cellophane sleeves and packed in boxes and put on trucks and shipped to grocery stores. They have an environmental footprint. They provide no value in our diet. We're going to talk about sustainability of food production for the future, how we're going to meet the growing world demand for protein, and how we're going to do that. Rather than pointing the finger at beef, we ought to probably start with those foods that we produce that have no value in the human diet. And then when we look at beef, we ought to be able to say, here's what we're doing to get better at producing beef here in this country. And real quick follow-up to UN's Livestock's Long Shadow, that their latest study came out in 2013, actually basically concluded that if we're going to produce enough protein, we've got to get everybody else in the world on board with the way that we do it in the United States. Because the way you do it makes efficient use of resources. We don't have to tear down rainforests or forests in the United States to make more land to grow cattle, because we can do it on the land we have, because we produce more beef with less land. We can do it with the water we have because we produce more beef with less water. And I'll just leave you with this picture here. If you want to become a confident beef advocate, eat beef every day. I don't know if you recognize the guy on the left there. That's me at age 30. I weighed 270 pounds, and I ate a lot of chicken. Lean, boneless, skinless chicken breasts. My wife, a Western Kansas farmer's daughter, just like my mom, is a great cook, and she made this recipe called buttermilk chicken. You take lean, boneless, skinless chicken breasts, put them in a casserole dish with a stick of butter, a pint of buttermilk, and a can of cream of chicken soup. Tastes really good, but it's not lean. It is not lean, folks. You know how many lean cuts of chicken, how many cuts of chicken how many cuts of chicken meet the government definition of lean? One. A boneless, skinless chicken breast. A chicken thigh is not lean, chicken leg is not lean, chicken wing with barbecue, with buffalo sauce and ranch dressing is not lean. Okay? You know how many cuts of beef meet the government definition for lean? More than 30. We got more lean cuts of beef than chicken has cuts. How do we let them get by with having this health halo walking around acting like chicken's this healthy food? You guys produce the most healthful, nutritious protein on the planet, and I'm proud to consume it every day. I buy my beef at the grocery store. I don't raise it myself. My land consists of about 1/4 of an acre with a 1/5 of an acre house sitting on the house. And my wife tries to have a garden there. She's a Western Kansas farmer's daughter, as I mentioned. She tries to grow something. We produce about enough tomatoes and herbs to feed our families salsa for a week. We are not going to survive on our garden. We depend on you. And all those consumers out there depend on you to produce our food. So thank you for the work that you do. Be a confident advocate for the product you produce. The guy on the right, that's me also. You might probably recognize that. That's a few years ago, June 11th, 2011, at the end of the Boise Ironman 70.3 triathlon. 70.3 triathlon is a 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike ride, followed by a 13.1 mile run. Took me 6.5 hours to finish it. I didn't get a medal. Well, I did get a medal. Everybody gets a medal. I didn't stand on the podium, but I finished the race. And if I stood here and tell you that the difference between the guy on the left and the guy on the right is beef, I'd be disingenuous. The difference between the guy on the left and the guy on the right is a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work. But it's beef that I put in my body every day that provides the fuel that my body needs to do that kind of physical activity. So thank you again for the job that you do. Thanks again for inviting me here, Jackie. I didn't leave us any time for questions, but I'll hang around for a few minutes after as you're making your way over to the room next door for the rest of your session. And unfortunately, I have to run back to Denver for that meeting. I would have loved to stay for the rest of your meeting, but it's great to be here. Thank you.
Very informative and inspiring presentation on behalf of the American Simmental Association. I'd like to present to you with a copy of this book. Given your farm background, you'll be interested here because we tell the story of the 38 different farms over which 160,000 soldiers, 72,000 horses fought, and what happened to those farms and the farm families. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, you wrote this book. Yes. Thank you very much. That's extra special. My boss, when I lived in Washington, D.C., and worked in Washington, D.C. for a number of years, was a big Civil War battlefield aficionado.
Send him up.
He'd love a copy of it too. I'll make sure to get a hold of it. Thanks again.